Minda Wilson with Urgent Care. Today, I'm very excited to welcome Véronique Desailners. She is a conqueror of breast cancer and has a lot of wisdom and that she can share with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Minda. I'm excited to share my message of hope with your audience.
The first time you heard the news that you had breast cancer, what was your feeling about it? Were you shocked? You were young.
Right. I was 47, I guess 48, and like any other woman who realizes that she's facing a breast cancer diagnosis, it was shocking, especially since I was in the wellness industry. I had a practice as a chiropractor, and I was teaching wellness principles for over 23 years, and here I was facing a lump in my left breast. So I definitely had to go down the rabbit hole of why did this happen to me, and how did it happen, and I thought I was doing everything right. I ate organic before organic was in style, and I breastfed my children, had home births. I exercised. I was under chiropractic care, and yet, here I had this lump in my left breast. So it was definitely a turning point in my life, where professionally and personally, my life has never been the same.
So how did it change your life?
Well, I recognized, obviously I learned a lot, and I realized that when I was going through my healing journey, the first time in 2004 through 2006, there were moments where I was feeling frustrated and overwhelmed and confused, because there was so many different ways to address breast cancer. And so my thought was, if I was feeling that way after 23 years of professional experience in the wellness industry, how much more so would the average person? So it led me to create what I call the 7 Essential System. It's a step-by-step guide that if you follow, you never have to fear breast cancer again, or really any dis-ease for that matter, because it looks at 7 specific principles that have everything to do with nutrition, to detoxification. It looks at the big picture, and if you follow these actionable steps, then it gives you a guideline, it gives you a roadmap, so you're not taking little pieces of the puzzle here and there and then staying frustrated and confused and not making real progress.
So when you had your first experience with cancer, did you use a holistic approach, or did you go through a traditional, chemotherapy surgery route, or both?
Well, personally, I chose to do everything outside of traditional medicine. Now, that's not for everybody, and there can be a good balance for both, because we certainly support women that use subtraditional treatments, and on the same breath, they also want to be able to mitigate the side effects of those treatments. So, we teach them, what to do and how to best heal their body. So personally, I chose to do everything outside of traditional medicine. So I did everything from nutrition to detoxification to emotional work to specific supplements and herbs to help weaken the cancer and to boost my immune system.
And then after 2 years of treatment, you were in remission.
Yeah, I was clear, and I decided to start sharing my personal healing journey with other women, and that's when I became known as the breast cancer conqueror. And then in 2015, by that time, my team and I had coached women in 44 countries, and I'd written, my first book, and I was working on the second book. And I was in the shower, and I was doing a breast exam, as I typically did, which doing it in the shower is not the right way, I later found out. And I felt another lump. And, my gut told me, I already knew that I wasn't feeling well. I wasn't sleeping well. I was a woman on a mission working from sun up to sundown, trying to support all these women with breast cancer. And I neglected my own self-care. I had some thyroid and some hormonal issues. I had some dental issues that needed to be addressed. So all of that created the perfect storm for breast cancer to show up again.
And then when you must have been, it must have been devastating when you felt that lump in your breast.
Yeah, because by this time I was known as the breast cancer conqueror. It's like, how could I be going through this again? And I wasn't prepared to really share this with my community, so I didn't say anything. So for 3 years, I was on my healing journey, and I knew I was very determined, and I knew that I was going to be successful again, and that one day I would come out of the closet. And so that happened in August of 2018, where I shared with my community and went public with it and shared my story, my second healing journey, and what I had learned, and, how did I end up, why I ended up having breast cancer again the second time.
So was there something that you did in your healing journey the second time that was different from what you did the first time?
There was, I was much more aggressive in the sense that I had access to vitamin C IVs and different nutritional IVs. I also used a type of test that tested the circulating tumor cells in my system, because even though you can cut out the tumor or the tumor can be gone, you can still have circulating tumor cells and breast cancer stem cells. So there's a test that measures those and then tests to see which nutrients and specific supplements specifically weaken those cancer cells. That's called the RGCC, or the grease test. And in doing that, I had access to a specific protocol that I knew, certain supplements were much more effective against the cancer than, just guessing at it. I did a lot of emotional work with EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, which is a type of meridian tapping to help release subconscious blocks and to really heal the emotions. Learn to really say no, set boundaries, right, and to really nurture and love that little girl inside of me that I, have been so hard on her my whole life, and just overall just did a lot of healing. Was very committed to getting well again and staying well this time.
So one of the things that it seems that's really important is also the fact that you did this breast self-exam and you identified that you had the lump. A lot of people don't really know what they should be looking for when they're giving themselves self-exams. So tell us a little bit about that process and what people should be doing to take care of themselves.
Well, there's a company called a foundation actually called Mammograms Foundation, and with the help of the National Cancer Institute and the National Science Foundation, Mammograms Foundation created a silicone breast model that is very lifelike. It has normal, breast nodular tissue, and it has 4 distinct lumps. Different sizes, different depths in the breast model. Now, that model has been used for over 30 years to train doctors and nurses how to do a proper clinical breast exam. Now, the Mammograms Foundation asked me to bring this model to the general public so women could now have access to this model to learn how to do a proper breast self-exam, and we called it My Breast Friend, because women have never been taught really how to do a proper exam, and even if they do their yearly mammograms or yearly thermograms or ultrasounds or all of the above, there's still 364 days of the year where the breast tissue can change, and we know when it comes to breast cancer, size really matters. Most women that are untrained in a breast exam will see the size of a golf ball, 3.5 centimeters. women that are trained in doing a proper breast self-exam can find something as small as a pea, which is 1 to 0.5 centimeters, and we know that if the cancer hasn't spread and it's only that size, the size of a small pea, then the life expectancy is 88% over 15 years. So it's huge advantage. So the sooner you can detect changes in your breast tissue, the better your chances are for survival with breast cancer.
And so how frequently do you recommend doing a self-exam?
It's recommended that women that are still cycling do them at the end of their cycle, at the end of their period, because that's when the hormones are going to be at their lowest and there's going to be less inflammation and hormonal changes in the breast tissue. Women that are postmenopausal can plan on doing it. I always say just plan on it the first of the month. It's like paying the rent or paying the mortgage, whatever. It's just something that you put on your calendar and that you do consistently.
So once a month, you should give yourself a breast exam. And then that way also you have a baseline and you notice changes. You're more likely to notice changes if you're doing it as a routine.
Absolutely. And the beauty of the model, My Breast Friend model, is that it comes with a training video and an instructional booklet, so you know how to do a proper breast exam. So there's 3 components. The first one is what to feel. What exactly are you feeling for? Because women don't know what a suspicious lump may feel like, right? And then when you learn on the model, then you can feel the difference between normal nodular breast tissue versus a hard, suspicious lump. Then it teaches you how to feel. Most women will, when they first see that model, they're just poking around with the tips of their fingers. When in reality, you have to use your index, middle, and ring finger, those 3 fingers, and you use the pads of your fingers, not the tips, because the pads is where all the nerve endings are. And then, where to feel. So you have to think of not just the breast tissue, because breast tissue the actual breast, we know where that is, but there's actual breast tissue that can be as high as the collarbone, into the armpit, down the side, underneath the breast, and up the chest bone, the sternum. So there's a whole grid method that we teach you in the training video, how to position yourself. You don't do it standing up or in the shower. It's best to do it laying down, and there's specific positions that you have to get into to be able to really have access to all of your breast tissue. Because sometimes, and this is really well demonstrated in the model, tumors can hide under the nipple and as deep as the chest wall. So the method is to really go deep, light, medium, and deep pressure all the way to that chest wall to make sure that you, come into contact with everything that might be hiding deep down in there.
Now, does this work for men as well?
Yes, it does. Yes, because we know that more and more men are developing breast cancer. Unfortunately, over 450 men die per year of male breast cancer, and they definitely need to be vigilant because they obviously don't get mammograms, but staying in touch with their body is so important. And speaking of mammograms, there was a 23-year study done on hundreds of women where they compared mammography versus touch. And mammography found lumps 43% of the time, whereas touch, women finding their own lumps, and clinical exam found it 56% of the time. So touch is actually more sensitive and more effective than a machine. There was another 25-year Canadian study done on 90,000 women, and basically the conclusion was that mammography did not reduce breast cancer mortality rate, not even by 1%. That, touch was just as effective in finding a lump as a mammogram. So lots of evidence there. And I always encourage women, if you do a mammogram, make sure you're doing your breast self-exams. And if, and always back your mammogram up with another technology, whether it's thermography or ultrasound or all of the above.
Yes, but you made a very good point, which is a mammogram is done only once a year. And, there's a long time between mammograms. And if you're examining yourself every month, then you're more likely to have early detection. You're more likely to be able to intervene in your care earlier. I mean, there's just so many benefits of ongoing vigilance.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I guess my big message when it comes to breast exams is that, we've given over our power to machines and to doctors, when in reality it's important for you to take responsibility for your body and your health. And, my vision and my goal is that, young teenagers would learn this in school so that they could have the benefit of learning how to do a proper exam.
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of that should be taught in health, right? And not just to women, to men too.
Yes.
And so what about, some people have like cystic breasts or other issues related to their breast tissue. Is there a way that does the My Breast Friend help identify those kind of problems as well?
Well, the key is to know the geography of your breast tissue, because whether you have dense breasts or fibrocystic breasts, it's just important to understand, okay, this is what my normal tissue feels like, and what you're looking for is something that is outside of your norm, because all our breasts are different, right? It's like a fingerprint.
Right.
So whatever differences or changes you notice in your breast tissue, that's what the system teaches you. And it helps you to recognize what a suspicious lump feels like. It's typically very hard, and it's typically doesn't move very well. It's, solid in one place. And so when you feel that, then when you feel that in the model, then your brain makes that connection. It's like learning how to play a musical instrument, right?
Mm-hmm.
You hit a key and your brain registers, okay, that, sound, tapping this key makes that sound. Same thing with the model. When you use the pads of your fingers and you use the model to find the lump, then your brain makes that connection. It's a training system. So you get to know what a suspicious lump feels like, and then when you apply that to your breast tissue, then it's much easier to detect and find.
So you're doing your breast exams, you feel that thing that you think is suspicious. What's the next step?
If you feel something, suspicious, call your doctor immediately and make sure you get checked. If your gut is telling you that this is really something that you're concerned about and your doctor kind of poo-poos it and says, oh, it's nothing, go see another doctor, get a second opinion, or press the issue and get the kind of testing you'd like to get tested. Just a month or so ago, received an email from somebody in Australia who was using the model, and she found a lump. She went to her doctor, and the doctor could not find the lump until she showed him where it was. And, as My Breast Friend becomes more and more popular, I know we're going to hear more and more stories like that. Even before that, we talked to many women who had breast cancer and how they discovered their lump. And, the doctor told them, oh, it was nothing. They came back 3 months later and their breast was full of disease, and they had ended up having a mastectomy. So, listen to your gut, and if you feel it just doesn't feel right for you, then press the issue until you get the answers that you're satisfied with.
Right, and make sure you have the proper testing done to see if you have cancer.
Correct.
So, if people want to learn more about you or your program or how to get My Best Friend or the seven habits of, sort of, I mean, I feel sort of like it's the 7 habits of making your life better when you're going through cancer. How can they do that?
They can find me on my website. It's breastcancerconqueror.com. We're also all over social media as well as Breast Cancer Conqueror. And you can find my book, Heal Breast Cancer Naturally, 7 Essential Steps to Beating Breast Cancer, on Amazon and on our website as well.
And just in terms of the 7 essential steps, can you still follow those steps if you're taking a more traditional route as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Essential number 1 is let food be your medicine. So if you become aware of better food choices, it can certainly help your body heal quicker and boost the immune system. I mean, we know how food affects our immune system. Essential number 2 is to reduce your toxic exposure. So stop putting toxins in your body that could be carcinogenic, whether it's the makeup or the skin lotions or the products you use in your home to clean your home. Number 3 is to balance your energy, and that has to do with, balancing your sleep patterns, your hormones, making sure you're under chiropractic care, using acupuncture, exercising properly, all of that, to balance that energy. Number 4 is heal the emotional wounds. And we all know that there's an emotional connection to any type of disease in the body. So
Mm-hmm.
It's important to, heal those wounds and to learn to take time for yourself and slow down and meditate and to learn to manage stress properly. Number 5 is the dental connection, and a lot of people may not be aware, but silver fillings are not really silver. They're mercury, very toxic. Root canals can also be very toxic. So there's a dental connection to dis-ease and cancer. Number 6 is all the therapeutic plants and herbs and the supplements, something as simple as vitamin D. If your vitamin D levels are optimal, around 80 to 100, then, your chances of getting breast cancer decreases your risk by 83%, but it also increases your ability to heal at a much better pace. And then lastly is maintaining, early detection, so make sure that you get your yearly checkups and you use thermography, ultrasound, mammography if you choose that, specific blood work to check for inflammatory markers and stay on top of your health through, going forward. So absolutely, whether you're doing traditional treatments or whether you're choosing to do everything outside of traditional medicine, 7 Essentials works for everybody and anybody.
Well, Dr. V, it's been a great pleasure having you on your show. Very interesting. And for anyone that is looking at, is interested in learning more about self-exam, men and women, or anyone who is facing breast cancer and wants to learn more about how to live a healthy life and take care of themselves with the 7 Essential system, I hope they reach out to you. This is Minda Wilson for Urgent Care.